Well, here's a mini lesson on circles that will teach you how to find the arc length, how to find the area of a sector, and how to find a central angle. I'm going to be using the same formula to do all three types of questions. Let's begin by figuring out how far it is from A to B on the circle. So to figure out how many centimeters it would be traveling on the circle from A to B, I'm going to follow the formula there in green and do the angle over 360 is equal to the part that I want over the total that's there. The part that I want is x. The grand total would be how far it is from A all the way back to A again. To determine how far it is all the way around the circle, on the circle, I'm going to use pi times d, which is the circumference formula. If the radius of the circle is 4, then the diameter would be 8 all the way across. So pi times 8 would be what I would use there. And once again, that's the circumference, pi times d. From there, it's just cross multiplying. You could reduce the fraction on the left-hand side if you wanted to, or just get right into the cross multiplying. So 8 times 145 is 1160. So when I multiply those together, I get 1160 times the pi, which is still there. So 8 times 145 is 1160. And 8 pi times 11 times 145 is 1160 pi. Cross multiplying the other two gets me 360x, and then divide both sides by 360. I'm going to round to the nearest whole number, and just typing it all into the calculator, including the pi symbol, would get me about 10. So x ends up being about 10 centimeters. Now let's look at the reality of the situation. If it's 4 from the center to here, would you believe, is it believable that that would be 10 centimeters here? I think so for sure. Because if that's 4, we're talking about another 4 is 8, and just a little bit more. All right. Next up is talking about the area. How much space is actually inside the sector. So how much space is actually inside the sector? To figure that out, I'm going to use the same formula again. It's still going to be 145. It's still going to be 360. The part is still x, but my total is going to change. Instead of doing circumference equals pi times the diameter, I'm after the area, or how much space is inside. And the total area inside would be pi r squared. For a radius, that's 4. 4 squared would be 16. So I'm going to use pi times 16 here. Cross multiplying again would get you 16 times 145, which is 2320, times pi equals 360x. Dividing by 360 would give me my answer, which is about 20 square centimeters. That's how much space would be inside that sector. Okay, last up is using that formula to find a central angle. So given these measurements right here, I can find out how many degrees is in the center of that circle. This is one of the useful features of this formula, is that we can use it to do many different tasks. So in this question, I'm looking for the angle. The part of the circle is known. On the circle, it's 6 inches. The total is what I need here. Well, the 6 inches was a length on the circle. So part of the length is 6. What is the total length of the circle? You're going to use, make sure you use the right formula, you're going to use pi times d to accomplish that. Because we want to know how far it is all the way around the circle and put that number at the bottom. So a 12-inch radius gives me a 24-inch diameter, twice as much. So it's just simply pi times 24 for the total length around the circle. Cross multiplying there gets you something that's a little bit different. You get pi times 24 times x equals 6 times 360, 2160. It's a little bit different because now next to the x we have two factors. We've got the pi and the 24. Well, if we're solving equations and want to get the x by itself, we're going to have to get rid of the pi, so we're going to divide both sides by pi. We're also going to divide both sides by 24. The pi's cancel, the 24's cancel, and this would be my answer. Now you might be thinking that you're home free, that all I have to do is type this into a calculator. If you type it in exactly like you see it here, you will get the wrong answer. Well, let's type it in and see what it. If I type it in exactly as I see it there, it's telling me that the angle is 16,500 degrees. That's completely ridiculous, and obviously there's a mistake someplace. And the mistake is in typing it in. We have to put parentheses around the pi times 24. Without it, the calculator thinks we want to take 2160 and divide it by pi, and then take that answer and multiply it by 24. Well, instead, we want to actually tell the calculator to divide 2160 by all of that pi times 24. So if I type it in the correct way, we get an answer that's much more reasonable, about 29 degrees.